My name doesn't matter. What matters is what I witnessed during those final months at the Holmby Hills mansion. What matters is the recording he made 3 days before he died. And what matters is why I've stayed silent for 15 years. Until now, when I was hired in 2006, Michael Jackson was already a ghost of himself. The man who once commanded stages in front of millions now barely left his bedroom. He'd hired me through a private security firm. No questions asked. Just one simple instruction. Keep everyone out unless I specifically call for them. At first, I thought it was standard celebrity paranoia. Rich people get weird about privacy. But Michael was different. He wasn't hiding from paparazzi or fans. He was hiding from something else. Something that made him check the locks on every door, every window, every night. The first sign something was wrong came during my second week. It was around 3 a.m. when I heard him talking to someone in his room. The conversation was heated, desperate. I pressed my ear to the door. Michael's voice was shaking. "I gave you everything," he whispered. "My childhood, my face, my soul. What more do you want?" Silence. Then his voice again, quieter now, defeated. "I can't do it anymore. I won't bring them more children. Find someone else." I stepped back from the door. There was no other voice. No second person in that room. Michael Jackson was talking to himself. Or so I thought. The house began changing after that night. Staff members quit without explanation. The housekeeper, Maria, crossed herself every time she passed Michael's room. When I asked her what was wrong, she just shook her head and whispered, "El diablo vive aquí." The devil lives here. But I needed the job. The pay was triple what I'd made in private security before. So I stayed, even when the temperature in the hallway started dropping at night. Even when I began hearing music playing softly through the walls. Music that wasn't coming from any stereo system in the house. Michael's behavior grew stranger. He'd emerge from his room wearing surgical masks, not for health reasons, but because he claimed his reflection was changing. "It's not my face anymore," he told me one evening. "They took my face and gave me this thing." He'd lost significant weight. His skin, already pale from vitiligo, had taken on an almost translucent quality. But his eyes were the worst part. They'd gone from brown to almost black, like something else was looking out from behind them. One night in May 2009, I found him standing in the hallway at 4 a.m., staring at a blank wall. He didn't acknowledge me, just stood there motionless for over an hour. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded different. Deeper, older. "They're coming for the children again," he said. "They want me to bring them more children. But I won't. I'd rather die first." That's when he told me about the contract. Not a record deal or concert agreement. Something else. Something he'd signed when he was still a child himself, desperate to escape his father's abuse and achieve the fame he dreamed of. "I was 9 years old," he said, his voice barely audible. "A man in a suit came to our house in Gary. He knew things about me no stranger should know. My favorite food, my secret hiding spots, the song I hummed when I was scared. He offered me everything I wanted: fame, money, escape from my father." Michael paused, staring at his hands. All I had to do was sign my name. Just one signature. I was a child. I didn't understand what I was giving away. According to Michael, the contract wasn't just about his career. It was about his soul, his body, his very essence. And every few years, they came back asking for more. First, it was his childhood memories. Then his original face. Then his voice, his natural movement, pieces of his humanity traded away for continued success. But the worst part, he said, was what they'd asked him to do with other children. Young performers, child actors, kids who reminded him of himself at that age. They wanted me to recruit them, he whispered, to bring them to the parties, the private meetings, to make them comfortable before they signed their own contracts. He claimed he'd refused, which is why his career had started falling apart. The allegations, the financial troubles, the media attacks, all punishment for breaking the unspoken rules of his agreement. That's why they're coming for me now, he said during our last conversation. I know too much. I've seen too much. And I refuse to give them what they want anymore. 3 days before he died, Michael handed me a small digital recorder. His hands were shaking, his breathing labored. If something happens to me, he said, make sure someone hears this. Make sure they know the truth about what this industry really costs. I never listened to that recording. Not then. I was too scared, too overwhelmed by what I'd witnessed. After the news of his death broke, I buried it in my basement and tried to forget everything I'd seen, but you can't unsee truth. You can't unhear warning. And 15 years later, watching other young stars follow the same path Michael walked, I knew I had to speak. The recording is still in my possession. 3 minutes and 47 seconds of Michael Jackson's final testimony about an industry that devours its children and spits out hollow shells in their place. That I'm not asking you to believe everything I've told you. I'm asking you to pay attention to the patterns. The child stars who grow up broken. The performers who change their faces, their voices, their very essence in pursuit of fame. The ones who try to speak out and mysteriously fall silent. Michael Jackson tried to warn us. In his music, in his behavior, in his final desperate attempts to break free from something that had owned him since childhood. Maybe if we'd listened then, we could have saved him. Maybe if we listen now, we can save the others.